GHOne TV, your best experience.
Good evening, it's 6:30 and you're live on GHOne Television. This is News Tonight. My name is Kemini Amano.
And I am Patrick Stevenson. Coming up will be the headlines for the evening. Now, robbers become brazen as they attack royal motors in broad daylight, escaping with thousands of Ghana cedis.
Also to come, NDC says it will not be blamed for Ghana's poor showing in the 2017 Corruption Perception Index, though the survey reviewed a period between 2016 and 2017.
Now, 69% of Ghanaians are backing the president's move to have MMDCs elected. We'll share with you CDD's new Afro Barometer report here on News Tonight. Do stay with us.
But later in business, Starbow indicted for latest crash as investigating committee recommends retraining of its cockpit personnel and re-employ qualified staff. That comes up when Kwekuteme joins us here in the studio. We're glad you're here with us on News Tonight. Our first stop will be in Parliament, where the Select Committee on Works and Housing has summoned the Sector Minister before the House. The committee is demanding a brief from Samuel Atachia on measures put in place to avoid any flood disasters in the capital.
Ranking member for the committee, Samson Ahi, said the ministry has done next to nothing to avert the perennial floods in Accra. He feared the entire city might be submerged if the rains come down.
We have realized that now they are not doing much with regards to measures putting in place to be able to contain the volumes of rains this year. And that is frightening. It rains for 1 hour and part of Accra submerged. Part of Accra was flooded and people lost their properties. It's a warning signal to us that if we don't do something urgently about this problem this year, we should prepare for catastrophic problems.
In a related development, the military will have to wait a while longer to inhabit the completed housing units for security services in Tema. This is because the Works and Housing Ministry is waiting for President Akufo-Addo to commission the project before handing over. The project, which was started by the previous administration, has been lying idle for a while now. Former Deputy Works and Housing Minister Samson Ahi is calling on the ministry to release the project to the military.
The government is not doing much about it, and we are talking about over 2 million deficits. The work is completed. The last time when we met with the ministry, they assured us that they were working with the Flagstaff House to get a date so that it can be commissioned. So I'm sure it's there because it's not commissioned yet. We should be serious as a country, and for them, as the government should be serious addressing the housing problems that we have.
Now, the First Lady, Rebecca Akufo-Addo, is collaborating with the SOS Children's Villages Ghana to protect and promote the rights of children across the country. This is occasioned by her appointment as the first patron of the SOS Children's Villages at the brief ceremony that was held here in Accra.
The SOS Children's Villages Ghana is a non-governmental organization with a focus on the welfare of underprivileged children. The organization, which has set up 4 villages across Ghana, provides care and support to children who have lost their parents or at risk of losing parental care. In a bid to ensure continuity of its projects, the SOS Children's Villages Ghana has made the First Lady, Rebecca Akufo-Addo, its patron. The organization will collaborate with the First Lady to ensure measures are put in place for the protection and promotion of child rights in Ghana.
The International SOS Children's Villages Federation has aligned itself to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which lay out the global path to more prosperity and equality in the whole world by the year 2030. Emerging from these sustainable development goals, SOS Children's Villages has globally adopted a strategy that it refers to as the Strategy 2030, which has been captioned that no child should grow up alone by the year 2030.
Nathan Kwabna Anochia Disi, popularly known as Bolare, who has been an ambassador of the home for 8 years, underscored the need for local support for the SOS Children's Villages and other organizations and initiatives for child development, since sponsorships for such initiatives has reduced globally.
The continuous reduction in international funding and sponsorships have created a need to increase local support in order to continue our work and reach out to many more vulnerable children and their families, pursuant to the tenets of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, and of course, the Children's Act of Ghana. It is for this reason that the organization has identified the need to bring on board the Office of the First Lady as patron, as in the case of many countries such as Egypt, Jordan, Kenya, among others, to assist with the effort to raise the profile of the organization, advocate for and extend our services to many more children and communities so as to generate local funding.
About what?
The First Lady, Rebecca Akufo-Addo, who expressed optimism in working with the Social Development Organization, promised to ensure that all children enjoy equal opportunities to make life better for all of them. She called for concerted efforts in finding innovative and sustainable ways of funding the organization.
Every child deserves a safe, loving environment in which to thrive, and every child has God-given talents that must be nurtured to make their dreams come true. This is what SOS Children's Villages all over the world have provided for countless children over the years. Globally, it is becoming more and more difficult to fund charities and institutions like the SOS Children's Villages. And yet the work you do is so important. We must therefore develop innovative, sustainable and diverse means to support the care and education of the children in our care.
Now, the opposition National Democratic Congress has refuted claims by the governing NPP that it should be blamed for the country's poor performance on the 2017 Transparency International Corruption Perception Index. The CPI scored Ghana 40 out of 100 points in the fight against corruption, a 3-point retrogression of the 43 points attained in 2016. Addressing a news conference earlier today, General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Asiedin-Ketia, accused the president of being in denial over his failure in dealing with corruption.
Public perception about corruption has been generally better under NDC government than under the MPP government. This indisputable fact demonstrates that the NDC does better at working to improve public confidence in the fight against corruption, whereas the MPP engages in lofty talks and no concrete action to root out the canker. If he was minded to be truthful, His Excellency the President would have been aware that similar attempts to use spin and untruth to shirk responsibility for the many corruption scandals that have broken out in his government have only yielded the opposite effect, that is, deep mistrust of his government, resulting in increasing perception of corruption.
Now, the General Secretary of the NDC further charged the government to show more commitment in the fight against corruption by ensuring the speedy passage of the Right to Information Bill. He, however, criticized the Ghana Integrity Initiative for giving excuses for the country's poor performance in favor of the MPP government.
You know, Transparency International is an international body, and there's a local NGO here, which is called Ghana Integrity Initiative, which is affiliated to them. The survey was not conducted by Ghana Integrity Initiative at all. It was conducted by Transparency International. And then when Ghana Integrity Initiative was doing a press conference, they decided to import some dangerous opinions into that report to create the impression about Ghanaians that, for Ghanaians that what is happening on the CPI front was attributable to 2016.
Well, there'll be more on that story in subsequent broadcasts. You're live on News Tonight. Still to come, we'll talk about that Royal Motors daylight robbery here in Accra on Insight. You want to stay with us? In Insight tonight, we'll focus on that daylight robbery in which at least 2 persons are now in critical condition after a group of armed men stormed Royal Motors at the industrial area here in Accra earlier today. The max robbers made away with at least 8,000 cedis of the company's money. Now, my colleague Nabil Ahmed Rufai visited the robbery scene and now gives us an elaborate account of how it all happened.
The armed robbers came to this premises around 9:30 Tuesday morning. They parked at this exact place in the blue Toyota vehicle. Now, they went to the reception, they were not masked as of the time they entered this particular place. So when they got here, they were met by the security personnel here. Then when they realized that there was a security camera here, that's when they put their black mask on. They then entered the place, hooked the security personnel, and then made their way into the office. After breaching the security post here, they were able to go past this particular entrance where the workers were stationed. Now, one of the worker here, the secretary, told me she was actually outside when the incident happened, and when she realized that armed robbers were in the premises, she raised an alarm, and when she entered, she realized that 2 of them were already in the premises. Now, this made 2 others who were outside here use their gun to break the glass window here in order to have access to the office. So when the robbers made their way into the office, they were able to push all the workers here into this particular office. They made them lie on the floor, threatened them with gunshots, and they also made their way into the general manager's office. They then asked him where the money was. He was able to show them where the money is. From here, they were able to get access to the place where the money is being kept, and this is exactly where they took the money. They ransacked this place and made away with the money. While the robbery was going on in here, one of the workers rushed out and told the people gathered here that something is going on in there. So one of the workers here actually alerted the policeman who was lurking around this place. Now, 2 of the policemen tried to jump over this particular wall to get access to where the robbery was going on, while the others used this particular entrance. So when they finished with the robbery, they drove towards this particular lane. Upon reaching here, they realized that one of the policemen who had jumped the fence was here firing at them. They did a U-turn and then drove past. When the armed robbers escaped from the scene, upon reaching this junction, they hit a vehicle and then drove ahead. There was another vehicle parked here. They shot at the driver, put their guns in it as well as the money they had stolen, and then drove off. Nabil Ahmed Rufai, reporting for GHOne News.
Well, Nabil is here with us in the studio, and Patrick, it appears to have been meticulously planned, this whole robbery exercise, and it happened in broad daylight, in the view of everybody in that area. But Nabil is here with us in the studio, and we will engage him briefly over this. Nabil, thank you very much for bringing us that elaborate account. But let's talk about some other things. You spoke with the staff of Royal Motors. Besides the money, what else did the robbers make away with? Now,
The staff told me they believe this particular robbery incident is an act from an insider. They are saying they are amazed as to how these robbers were bold enough to come to the premises to do something like this. Now, aside the money that they took away, one of the staff, who is the secretary, they took her 8,000 cedis from her, that she can say. But with the company's money that they took away, that one is not known, but they said it's thousands of cedis. Now, they also took away all their mobile phones aside the monies that they took from the premises.
But Nabil, so here's the thing. From the report you just shown us, that very elaborate report, there's supposed to be a CCTV camera somewhere, which your report clearly mentions. What did they do to it? Did they take it away? What happened to it?
So when they realized that there was a CCTV camera, when they got to the premises, they went straight to where the installations was. They just shot the wires there and took away with some of the chips that were installed in that particular facility.
And this is why you believe that this, some of the staff believe that, this would have been an insider job, because typically the installation will usually conceal where the documents, or if like these camera and the sort of tapes that are recorded will be kept, right?
Exactly, Patrick. That's why the staff believe that this couldn't be just one of those off-record robbery. This should be something that is well planned, and they know exactly what they were about on this particular robbery, this an adventure, and they made away with huge sums of money.
Now, Nabil, I also see that the area or the crime scene is still very accessible. In fact, that is why you were able to bring us this elaborate account. I want to come back to you on what the police are saying now. But let's speak with Director of Academic Affairs at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center, Dr. Kwesi Ainen. I think we lost Dr. Ainen over the telephone. So, Nabil, let me just come back to you. Why is the area so accessible? Why don't we see any crime scene people on the ground?
Well, when we got to that particular scene, the police had already gone there. There were two policemen who were actually trying to catch the robbers, but then they called in reinforcements. They came there and they assessed the situation. But then I was also wondering why they hadn't cordoned the place off, because, of course, forensics, you can pick something from the scene, but then it was just open and I could just do that reports from the premises where the thing actually happened.
I see. Now, in a bit, we should also speak with ASP Efiatenge, who is with the Accra Regional Police. But right now, let's speak with Director of the Faculty of Academic Affairs at the Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping and Training Center, Dr. Kwesi Ainen. Doc, thank you very much for your time. Once again, we are faced with such brazen daylight robbery in the heart of the city. For you, as a security person, what sort of analysis do you make into this? 2 days ago, similar incident at the Forex Bureau in Tema. What do you see?
I don't think this is going to get much worse. I've spoken about it for 17 years. I'm getting pretty fed up with it. There's nothing new here. It's going to get much worse. The demographics don't help us. Expanding on planned urban spaces, availability of small arms, unemployable youth, a police service we have not invested in for 40 years, inadequate human resources, vehicles that are not fit for purpose, poor communication. We are not, as a country and a nation, ready to respond to the changing dynamics of crime. So what is happening is it's just exposing who we are and the booklessness of our policies towards fighting crime.
Doc, when you also look at how the robbers now operate, moving from the residential facilities to where the money could be, perhaps because people are becoming increasingly cash-light. It tells us also that these robbers are becoming more sophisticated than we know. Something must be wrong somewhere, shouldn't it?
No, they are not more sophisticated than we know. We know they are sophisticated, but we are not sophisticated. You and I, and those of us on the good side, we tend to think that criminals are nasty intangibles, people that we can just order into behaving properly. We are not using science, to fight crime. So these guys are a couple of steps ahead of us. Let me give you some figures and statistics.
Right, go ahead, Doc.
I had the time, pardon?
I was saying, go ahead.
Yeah. How many crimes have happened in Accra? Where have they taken place and at what time? My team and I can tell you what kinds of crimes happen at what times in particular areas in Accra. These are preventable crimes, okay? But because both the figures and the approaches are politicized, we are not making the interventions that we need to do. In Accra right now, this year, probably about 138 crimes have taken place. Those are the reported cases. Okay, and why is it getting bad in Accra and all the urban areas? First is what I've told you earlier on planned spaces in which the kinds of logistics that we need to input, to fight and to prevent, those decisions are not made by the police service. More often than not, they are made by politicians who don't have the technical skill set to make those decisions. Number two, why is it that over the past 30 or 40 years, we haven't invested in the manpower? Because we are not interested. Okay? So the political rhetoric about fighting crime and supporting the police service is fantastic. It's very good. But the operational technical interventions to ensure that they protect you and I, that doesn't exist. And I'm sure by the time you finish this program and you are heading home, you get your gate, you honk your bell, expecting your watchman to open. That's 30 seconds before it's opened. That is probably one of the most dangerous periods. So you know what? In September, I will be teaching specific courses about this. So come and invest in the course, and I'll help you to stay alive.
No, before you leave, and so you talk about the fact that
some two very beautiful men, so I really don't have much time to continue this conversation. Yes, please.
So you talk about the fact that, you know, the strategies that should be implemented to deal with this danger that we are confronted with as a society have been politicized. Here you have a case where the act has already occurred. The police service on arrival has not even cordoned off the area for proper investigations. Do you think this is still a problem of politicization? Because granted that the act has occurred, one would assume that even if 2 policemen arrive at a crime scene, they will cordon off the area for proper investigations, and maybe we'll be able to apprehend who these perpetrators are.
No, why should they cordon off the area?
For the purposes of investigations, I believe.
It's routine, standard law enforcement procedure when crime happens. But you know we love crimes. We like to walk on and trample on the evidence. You remember when the Atomic Junction fire explosion took place? Everybody who mattered in Ghana went and trampled on the evidence. So what do you expect the policeman to do this morning? Stop people from trampling on the evidence?
At least he's the law enforcement officer, and so far as that is his job.
What happened, don't waste my time, what happened at Atomic Junction? You think the fire service officers and the police officers could have told the politicians to get out of the place so they will pick evidence? When powerful people trample on the evidence when crimes happen, what the signal you send to the police is actually be careful, because this little crime to me too, I don't know who will come and want to be photographed there. Let those who matter allow the police to get their job done. And then they will cordon off the police, then they will pick the forensics, then they will catch the people, and then we can prosecute them.
Very well, Doc. We'll leave our conversation here for now. Thank you very much. I'm definitely grateful. But let's take our concerns about the crime scene to the police now. ASP Efia Tenge speaks for the Accra Regional Police. She's joined us via telephone as well. Good evening, ASP. Well, I think we have lost ASP, but it will be nice to find out if there are any chances at all of getting some sort of forensic evidence from the scene at the moment, or perhaps they had done that already earlier in the day. But let's speak to my colleague Nabil, who was on the scene after the robbery took place, brought us that elaborate account. Nabil, we have heard very little from the police, besides the fact that we have seen that the area is not cordoned off from access. What have we heard from the police?
Well, we know that they've taken the statements from the staff who were at the premises when the robbery occurred. We understand that they are trying to pursue the robbers. They are 4 in number from what I gathered today, and they are trying to see how best they will be able to arrest them.
But Nabil, so outside of, you know, this particular venue or this office where the robbery took place, I mean, what was the reaction of, you know, onlookers or observers? Because typically, the police service always tells us that we equally have to be responsible, you know, for the provision of, you know, communal security. I mean, how are people reacting to this?
So, Patrick, when they left the Royal Motors premises in the vehicle, the blue Toyota vehicle, when they got to that junction, they knocked a vehicle and then burst a tire. Then there was a car that slowly parked, driven slowly and parked along the shoulders of the road. Now, when the accident happened, one of the men around that area actually said, you've hit somebody and you will not wait, knock and run, that what we say, knock and run.
Right.
So he approached them, but he heard gunshots. He just had to go back. Then they had to quickly go to the car that had parked. They shot the driver. Then they moved their guns in that particular vehicle. and as well as the monies that they are stolen, and then they just went off.
So effectively, they switched vehicles.
Exactly,
is what you're saying.
Exactly.
And they just drove off. I mean, this is like a theatrical
those who were around couldn't do anything because they were just firing their guns in the air, and they couldn't just go near them.
Now, Nabil, this is an industrial area, which means that there are other companies who, in most cases, do not also handle huge sums of money. What did you pick up from these companies?
At the Royal Motor premises, when they heard gunshots, I was told that those who were around actually had to retrieve. They went back into their companies and they just locked them. And I gathered a sense of fear amongst them. If something like this could happen to a nearby company, then they also feel their security is at stake, and they're quite apprehensive at the moment coming in.
Very well, we'll leave it here for now. Thank you very much. Nabil Ahmed Rufai brought us that report from Royal Motors where a robbery took place earlier today. Now, away from that, we'll head for the Kotoka International Airport where the Narcotics Control Board has arrested a 26-year-old woman for attempting to traffic a suspected narcotic substance into the country. The suspect, Ivy Muguri Daniel, arrived at the Kotoka International Airport aboard Ethiopian Airline, and she was accosted by officers who asked for her check-in luggage. A search conducted in the luggage revealed a big parcel wrapped with a black polythene material containing an off-white powdery substance weighing some 3 kilograms. A test later determined that the substance is speedball, a mixture of cocaine and heroin, with an estimated street value of $90,000. Well, now we'll bring you a conversation with NACOB when we return. Stay with us.
My Dear Rice, for special people, now available, Royal Dear Gold.
Jamie, therefore, ma yawo brings you. Na fe yemu so mo kwan.
Say the therefore say no.
What aroma? Manento nana say. Insure sem the mo ha na okra ye ba no. Ye de insure ba.
Ah! Adai. Se waba efie. Ah, wa say yen yema mu insure no no. Wo so di insure ba. Any say.
Nana eti amra.
O therefore,
o therefore, yes rewo. Insure we. Okay. Eye ahemfo nsu a ye de afa mfidie mu. Asone so. Aye ne kroji. A Free Kingdom Beverages Limited. King's Drinking Water.
Bye man. Insure ne de. King's Drinking Water. And na King's Drinking Water.
Ahifusio de.
Well, you're welcome back to News Tonight here on GHOne Television. And before we went on a break, we're just giving you some synopsis of a development regarding a Kenyan woman who had been arrested sometime in January by the officers at Kotoka International Airport for attempting to smuggle some drugs into the country. Well, in studio now is Nana Osei Nkwantebisa, who speaks for the Narcotic Control Board here in Accra. Nana Osei, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, and good evening to your cherished viewers.
So my very first question, this happened in January. Why are we hearing of it now?
Yes, the reason why the public is getting the information now is that as part of our modus operandi, not all arrests when being made is given out to the public instantly. We need to go into investigation, try to know the perpetrators. Normally it's not all only one person who is involved. You need to go down to get the culprit. This person or those at times involved are only couriers. We need to get down to the campaigns, the receivers, and the senders. So basically, when these things happen, we need to go.
Right. So you'd have to take some time to investigate to find out which other syndicates are involved.
Yes.
And so for this particular case that we have at hand, what has happened so far as that particular investigation is concerned? And can you tell us where this lady is at the moment?
Yes, the lady is currently in prison custody. You know, when the arrest was made, checks were being done at a standard authority to confirm the potency of the substance, which proved to be positive. And upon that, our investigators sent her to court, whilst the court remanded her for further investigation because she's a Kenyan national, and we need to also liaise with our international partners such as Interpol, because it's not only the lady. She did confirm that the bag was bought for her by her boyfriend in the name of one Benson in Nairobi. So as part of the process, we need to also investigate with our partners in Kenya to track down on this guy. And also, our men are on the ground to ensure that the receiver, the alleged receiver in Ghana here, is also tracked down. So that is why it took us this time to bring to the public what...
Now, with the person in Kenya, the alleged boyfriend by name Benson, what has happened to him? Any updates on his whereabouts at the moment?
Yes, in my early submission, I said we are in touch with Interpol to ensure that he's brought to book, because when it comes to matters of this nature, we need to get down with our partners, that is the Interpol, and they will liaise with the Kenyan authorities to track down on him. If he is around or is within the country, we will be able to get him on. So investigations are quite ongoing.
So for the lady that is in custody of, is she in the custody of the police at the moment?
No, she's in prison custody.
Prison custody?
Yes.
And so what is likely going to be her penalty for an offense which, by your estimation, is about $90,000 worth of drugs that she would have brought onto the streets of Accra?
Yes, you know, Narcotics Control Board, per our mandate, we operate within the PNDC Law 236, and it prohibits possession, transportation, even cultivation, and other activities that, when it's not being approved by the appropriate authority, you found culpable to the law, and the minimum is 10 years. So I'm not trying to be judgmental or trying to preempt the court case, but from what we have within the law, if you are found culpable, the minimum is 10 years. So we are only waiting for the court's final judgment, which will be very soon, and as it comes out, we will let the public know of the sentence which will be meted on her.
Well, thank you very much for sharing these insights with us, Nana Osei Nkwantebisa, who speaks for the Narcotics Control Board here in Accra. We'll continue with other stories that we have for the evening. Well, business is up next week, Okuteme.
All right, so thank you very much, Patrick, for passing it on to me. You've missed your Starboard flight and you're waiting to get some updates on it. Well, tonight I carried a message. The accident which occurred some months ago was the fault of the pilot and bad weather. When I come back, I give you every bit of the details that you're waiting for.
Business Brief is brought to you by
Dusk Capital. We see a millionaire in you. We're looking for you, the next millionaire. We know of your stressful routine. From those 12-hour flights across the Atlantic to your hustle through traffic every day. From burning the midnight oil to that laptop that never sleeps. We know where you are in life, and we know where you want to go. Let us take you there. Thinking investment? Think Dusk Capital. Dusk Capital. We see a millionaire in you.
Henry, what is wrong with you and your laptop? It is not working.
Hey. What at all is going on in this house?
Your son's laptop is not working and my phone.
Me kai me mo frabrim na me ma me de me ko Freddy's corner enti ene eye manager se me di Freddy's corner ho adanse a kire mabusia na ade ba ko a me kai wo Freddy's corner eye se de wo siti wanim ejeji wo customers. Se eba mobile phone, eba laptop papa, camera papa ni PlayStation a Freddy's corner aha ene wo. Se ko ba to mobile phone say, o camera say, o laptop say and a PlayStation. Me ha ho kra. Freddy's corner be try you go amount. Freddy's corner, your home of authentic mobile phones and accessories.
All right, let's do some business now. And here, a 5-member committee set up to investigate the latest Starboard crash blames the incident on poor weather and the pilots. Well, the committee has therefore recommended the retraining of its personnel on cockpits and also re-employ qualified staff to avoid any such incidents in the future.
The Minister of Aviation disclosed this while responding to an urgent question filed by a Member of Parliament, Kwame Agbozan, on the circumstances leading to the Starboard accident in November last year. She explained the local airline has been ordered to review its operational procedures and retrain all its crew members.
The cause or causes were two. The plane or aircraft skidded off and they lost awareness, meaning they were not even aware that they were skidding because of the heavy downpour. These are the causes, plain and simple. And after that, they have recommended that the pilot should have applied the rear thrust, meaning reverse, in simple terms.
The Adaklu MP and the other minority MPs questioned the absence of sanctions for the pilot and his crew and the recommendations of the committee.
There has to be some sanctions against the pilots. If there were elements of human error, we can't say that because the pilot is one of the best in the country, that should end there. There has to be some sanctions for the element of human error. Exactly what is the ministry doing?
Speaking to the media after proceedings, Cecilia Dapa assured measures are being rolled out to forestall any future occurrence.
Retrain to make sure they check their aircraft very well before adding to the fleet, and we must bear with them. They are good investors, so we need to encourage them. So we are there to chaperone them to do the right thing and make sure they succeed.
Let's move to the presidency now, and here the Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, has indicated that Ghana will soon process a majority of its natural resources to relish the full benefits of the country's resources. Well, he is, however, optimistic that this measure will ensure responsible fiscal management of Ghana's resources while creating more jobs for the citizenry.
The Vice President, Dr. Mahmoud Baumia, made this known when he gave the keynote address at the Regional Conference on Fiscal Management of Mining and Petroleum Resources in West Africa. Hosted by the African Fiscal Affairs Department of the International Monetary Fund, he noted most West African economies endowed with natural resources have been negatively impacted by the decline in commodity prices in recent years, hence the need to plug the revenue leakages through proper accounting for resources.
Improper accounting for extractive resources on the part of concessionaires is a major source of revenue loss for African countries, with significant negative fiscal implications. No fiscal management system of mining and oil revenues can be robust without including measures aimed at properly accounting for the resources extracted, as the recent experience of Tanzania has shown.
He added there was the need to ensure players in the extractive sector work together to stem the illicit financial flows that take place daily in the mining and petroleum sectors.
In Ghana, the major mining firms have been assaying gold mined from their mines by themselves before export, even though the law empowers the Precious Minerals Marketing Company to do so. While we must be careful not to impute, and no such thing is being alleged.
All right, so that's about all we have for you tonight, so long as business is concerned, but you can trust that we have more groundbreaking stories for you. Do stay with us. It's still news tonight. My name is Kweku Timin. We're back shortly with more details.
Business Brief was brought to you by
Dusk Capital. We see a millionaire in you.
Away from business, the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, Gloria Akufu, says efforts are being made to address the myriad of challenges facing her ministry. These challenges, according to her, threaten the growth of democracy in Ghana. The minister made this known during a familiarization visit to the Eastern Region offices of her department.
The problems are quite identical. Admittedly, we cannot begin to solve all of them at once. There are challenges with staffing, office space, residential accommodation, office equipment, even reports, and even the administrative staff is challenging. I have asked each of the stations I have visited to come up with what I call the needs of the stations. One would say I've actually known the needs of the people, but there may be slight.
Moving on to other stories, the President's quest to get metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives elected seems to be one of the most popular initiatives in the domain of the public if implemented. Now, this is supported in the latest Afrobarometer report released by the Center for Democratic Development. Here's a report by Odilia Ajeman-Prempe.
The latest Afrobarometer report released by the Center for Democratic Development says 69% of 2,400 people sampled across the country want their metropolitan, municipal and district chief executives elected. The survey, which was conducted in September 2017, was to test the public's support for the president's decision and how people at the grassroots respond to local governance. Other key findings from the report stated that strong support for elective MMDCs is consistent with previous Afrobarometer survey findings in 2008 and 2012, which recorded 60 and 71% respectively. In the latest report, 51% of Ghanaians say election of MMDCs should be non-partisan like local government councillors election, while 41% would prefer a partisan election. However, 66% hold the view that local government councillor elections are not really non-partisan. Presenting the report at the Center for Democratic Development, experts believe aligning party manifesto with demands at the grassroots will be a matter of greater concern. Dr. Odro Sai is a local governance expert.
We should let people understand that chief executives represent central government. They don't represent the president. And chief executives are expected to bring development to the local people. And they exercise decentralized powers. So what invariably is going to happen is that if you're a chief executive and you come in, your program should align with the national development agenda, copies of which have been disaggregated to the district level. So it will be extremely difficult for any chief executive to operate outside the national medium-term development agenda.
Now, the United Nations says it is worried that some public places in Ghana remain unfriendly to people with disability. Resident coordinator for global organization Christine Evans-Clark says the UN expects financial commitment to be pushed into policies on disability rights.
Accessibility of public places is one of the major challenges for a person living with a physical disability. The presence of high-rise buildings with the absence of appropriate passage places for the disabled has always been a big challenge for differently abled people. In the area of job acquisition, it is a major problem because some employers expect that an employee access facility with no hindrance.
Sometimes when you are visiting their offices, their place is not accessible. You have to climb stairs before you even get to the HR office. And by you getting there, you are already tired, you'll be breathing heavily, you are sweating, and they say like, you cry, even just this small stairs that you climbed, you are already tired. So what can you do?
The passage of the Disability Act 2006 and the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, which Ghana is signatory to, may have sought to bring an end to the challenges of these marginalized groups, but nothing seems to have been achieved in the area of accessibility of public structures to the needs of the disabled. At a civil society workshop for the Universal Periodic Review of recommendations made to the state during the third cycle in November last year, the UN resident coordinator, Christine Evans-Clark, in a meeting asked for lawmakers and civil societies to channel resources towards the realization of the provisions of the Disability Act.
I think this is an issue where Ghana has a great policy on the books, but the implementation hasn't yet lived up to what the expectations are. And I think in the area of disability access, it's a really good example. So we need to look at really the practical financial resources that are required. There's an expectation on the books, but that needs to be matched with resources to be able to act on it. And from our side in the UN, we're also aware that we're not meeting our own standards. We're not meeting our own values on accessibility. And we're talking to the government now about having a UN house, one where the UN agencies would be together. But there's a lot of motivations for that. And one of the motivations we've put forward is that we need facilities that are accessible to all Ghanaians.
Well, was state protocol snubbed or just a problem with the angle of the camera? If you thought the era of Sage was over, then you probably are in for a ride. Papa J, the former President Jerry Rawlings, has been making some remarks, and we'll bring you this in his own.
I have this talent, but I've recorded her songs, but I don't have the money to push it out there. So I was just looking through and like, who should I go to again, and when I get to Bulari. I was like, boss, I have this talent, listen to this girl. She's amazing, listen. I gave him the CD. One time I was there, I had a call. But I was like, yo, Bullet, come. Wow. Yeah, I was like, yo, Bullet, come to my office right now. We need to get this girl out there. Wow. Yeah, so I got there, and I had, Bullet had in hand like $10,000 cash. Wow. Yeah, $10,000. So the seed money for the race project came from Bulari. Yeah.
So, Papa J happens not to be the only last killer. This director of protocol has had his share of the savage treatment. But wait, this angle tells a different story. Okay, judge for yourself.
Well, the beauty of the camera is
yes, and the things the camera can tell you, even when they are not there. I mean, he was introducing the president to you know, the other diplomats, and then it turned out to be something else.
Well,
stop being mischievous. You're watching News Tonight. We'll be right back.
Ghana International Trade Fair is back again. From the 28th February to the 7th of March 2018, the Ghana Trade Fair Company will be hosting over 500 exhibitors from all over the world for the 22nd International Trade Fair at the Ghana Trade Fair Center, La Accra. Come and have quality entertainment while you network to develop your business. Activities lined up for the 22nd International Trade Fair: Wednesday, 28th February, opening ceremony; Thursday, 1st March, Regional Day celebration; Friday, 2nd March, High Life Night; Saturday, the 3rd of March, Country Day celebration; Sunday, 4th March, Food Fair and CEO's cooking competition; Monday, the 5th of March, Cocoa Day and Intimadan. Then on the 6th of March, the biggest outdoor concerts. Come and enjoy your favorite local Ghanaian dishes at the Food Fair while you listen to evergreen high life music at the Beer Festival on weekends and holidays. The Kids Corner will give our children a treat with their favorite cotton candy, ice cream, bouncy castle, swimming pool, face painting, and many more. Be part of the 22nd International Trade Fair. Join us from the 28th to the 7th of March at the Ghana Trade Fair Center as we trade and network in style and entertainment under the theme Industrializing Ghana and Creating Jobs. The program is brought to you by the Ghana Trade Fair Company in partnership with the Ministry of Trade, One District, One Factory, and EIB Network.
Now, GHOne chairman Kujo Fianu has given an indication that he could contest for the Ghana Football Association's presidency come 2019. Mr. Fianu who has confirmed that he will be leaving office as Ashanti Gold CEO with effect from Wednesday, February 28, says he could throw his hat into the ring to succeed Kwesi Nyantakyi. Meanwhile, names like Dream FC's chief Kurt Okreku, Ghana FA president George Afriyie, Fred Papo, a former Ghana Football Association vice president, have popped up as possible candidates for the Ghana FA presidential race. President Kwesi Nyantakyi is expected to end his 14-year tenure as the FA's boss next year. Well, and that's all we have for you in this particular broadcast. My name is Patrick Stevenson.
And I am Kemini Amano. Tonight on State of Affairs, there'll be that conversation about graduate unemployment with Nanaba Namwa. You want to stay with us at 8:30 for that. Good night.